Okay. Oh, that's right. I don't see us on YouTube. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cosmic Tea Hour. This is Teresa, Peter, Elaine. I'm sorry, Elaine and Angela here with us tonight. How is everybody doing out in the big wide world? We are getting ourselves together. I feel like everyone has been touched by the Mars Uranus conjunction, Mercury placements. We are all having a wonderful time figuring our way out through the whole thing. But if you can smile and be adaptable, you'll have a better time with the experience. Okay, so see, as I mentioned. Excellent. Okay, so welcome everybody. Peter is going to walk us through. He's actually going to start us off with the America's birthday information. So America's birthday information is America's birthday information is going to be past, present, and future. And how is it all affecting you? So, Peter, if you'd like to kick us off, sweetheart, please go ahead.
All right. First of all, I want to say our forefathers, and specifically with the research with Thomas Jefferson. I was doing research, and Thomas Jefferson actually wrote. He was inspired by John Adams and Benjamin Franklin to actually write the Declaration of Independence. So the a chart for the 4th of July was established at 5:10 local mean time, and it was a declaration of the United States to rally against the British troops and to go to war in order for us to become an independent country. And if anybody has anything to add, Angela, because I know you work for the government, anybody hop in. The Declaration was actually established for the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for the citizens back then that were established with the 13 colonies, and the right to be for each citizen to be taken seriously and to have their freedom and independence. So the way it was established back then is quite different than it is now, because I actually started studying the Declaration of Independence. It is filled with unconditional freedom for each one of us to have. We were originally established, I believe, as a republic.
Yeah, that we are a republic. We are a republic.
We are a republic.
We are a republic.
Right. So back then, our forefathers, to me, were getting this information from the cosmic realm, because the way that the chart is set up is absolutely incredible. And it's filled with energy. We're going through changes now because of the fact that the moon back then, when it was established, was at 27 degrees 10 minutes of Aquarius, and it was trining Mars at 21 degrees 23 minutes, and Uranus at 8 degrees Gemini 55 minutes. What this means is there was a lot of energy back then. There was radical energy in order to break away from King George III and for us to have our own government. And we are going through radical changes right now because people are not happy with the government, the way we're being governed. And I feel what's happening now. I'm very surprised to a degree that we haven't had a revolution in this country yet, that we haven't had people rising up against politically what is happening. But each one of us is meant to have a home, to have children, to have freedom of speech, to have freedom to say pretty much whatever we want to say within the confounds of, and I forget what amendment it was, but we do have freedom of speech. But a lot of things are changing right now, and more people that I am talking to are getting very upset with the way things are going on in this country, especially with the NRA gun laws and the right to bear arms. I do think we live in the most incredible country in the world. We have a government, I do believe, that is for us. This is the one country that you can actually live in. I've been to communist countries where you can talk against the government and you can talk about policies. But right now, what's going on, especially in the United States, is people want more of a say. People want more liberties, more ability to really go and do what they want to do for their families as far as work and also as far as politically. So I'm seeing and I'm feeling radical changes over the next 2 years, especially people are very worked up about the election coming up in November. What is going to be happening, if it's going to be Donald Trump, if it is going to be Joe Biden. So we're kind of in confusing times. And Angela, I know you work for the government, so if you want to interject anything, please do.
No, I agree. It's a wonder this democracy lasted this long, because democracies only last 200 years.
Yes.
And even Jefferson said, he says, if this lasts 200 years, we're lucky. But actually, we were set up. We were set up as a republic.
We worked that up. So we're now going on, I believe, and I wrote down, we're going on, I think, 250
48.
Oh,
248 years.
248. Thank you.
Yes.
248. Yes, I have that down. Thank you.
In 2 years, we're going to have the 250th anniversary.
Right.
Oh, then we
My
went 50
family
years.
fought in the American Revolution. They were the first settlers of Boston.
Your family, you said?
My family were the first settlers of Boston.
Oh, wow. That's
and they
amazing.
Also fought. I'm a direct descendant of President Ulysses S. Grant, and it's also coming up that I could possibly be related to Jefferson.
Wow.
Right?
My kids are related to John F. Kennedy.
Oh, you said you were related to John F. Kennedy?
No, my two children are related to John F. Kennedy.
And how was that?
The Fitzgeralds married the Walshes, and my mother-in-law was a Walsh.
Oh.
So my kids' great-great-grandfather was John F. Kennedy's grandfather, Honey Fitzgerald, in Boston. And my son looks just like John F. Kennedy.
I told you this was going to be a really fun show. I'm so excited. I knew it was going to be great.
Well, I did want to interject just a quick thing. Years ago, when I was in TV, I connected with a woman. She's passed. Her name was Helen Hertz. And she married into money. And she said, I'm having a PR lunch, and I'd like you to join and come to the lunch and mingle with the friends. So she had a beautiful apartment on Park Avenue, and I'm sitting there, and who walks in, gets off the elevator? Jackie Kennedy Onassis. And I don't know why I did it, but I did it. I walked over to her and I bowed to her. I didn't shake her hand. I bowed to her. And in response to me bowing, she bowed back.
Did she laugh? Did she smile?
She smiled, very prim and proper. She was amazing. Yes, absolutely. Very classy lady.
So we are joined by, in the audience here, we have Julie, Pauline, we have Andrea, we have Jovi, a few others. I just wanted to say everybody says hello. Everybody's sending love. They're looking for information about the art show that we're having on the 27th. Elaine and I are going to talk a little bit about that, but we have so much for you guys lined up. So we're just going to keep it moving and all your questions will be addressed. So Peter, to nutshell off the past, present, future of America, I noticed earlier that there was so much Cancer energy that was in America's chart. We were looking at it before we started. So past tense, it's almost like America was like this boat, and where you're talking about the prominent signs being Mars, Uranus, it was like a propeller almost that super pushed us into being able to have the energy to go through the wars, the revolts, to make America possible. And you're saying, that 200-year mark, the fact that we overcame 200 years, we're in a whole new time. What is the future of, do you have any astrological insights on what we could see in the future of America, what we could look out for almost?
I see we can't go back. The one thing I'm going to say is I don't believe we can go back. I believe that we have to go forward with technology, innovations, everything to really help our planet. And what I want to say, we are very cancer. Oh God, we are a cancer society. So I do feel that what is going to be happening is the emphasis here is on education, people becoming more educated, going back to school, going on for masters, PhDs. But a lot of people, I do believe that we are also going to become more involved with, say, the Industrial Revolution, factory workers, trade workers. I really think we're going to end up going back to trades, carpentry, carpenters, electricians, whatever. We're going to redevelop where the United States is going and how it's going to get there. But we're going through that right now. We really are.
And the energy that I feel to piggyback on what you're saying, we're heading into a new time where if we stay focused or stuck in a mindset of doing things from an old way, we're not going to have the hardware mentally, emotionally, physically in place to be in alignment and in support with what's coming forward. That being said, if we're open to being guided, and this is where the value of having a relationship with yourself comes from, we're in our heads, we're pulled to our families, our jobs, our places. We have to make time to just go and meditate, or just go and take a couple breaths and touch the divine inside, so that we stay grounded and we can steer the ship. Because when we're too in a mental space, sometimes not to the fault of people, but we edge God out incrementally, and then we look around and go, wait, where the hell did I go? Why am I here? How did I get here? How do I get back? So my suggestion to people is to make that balance between the doing and then the time to sit and meditate in stillness, to allow ourselves to be guided and tap in.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say to you is this. More people I know in my practice are getting in touch with their higher selves. They're going within. They are trying to find out who they really are spiritually and why they are here. And I was talking to my sister this afternoon who lives in Canada, and my sister is an ardent Buddhist. And my sister comes from a point of divine love and forgiveness and acceptance and whatever. And she was telling me, she said, don't let things upset you. Embrace them. Know that you can change yourself. You can help other people change. And she's lived like this for many, many years. So I think at this point, we need a little bit more wisdom from Buddha and from other religious figures that we have dealt with. I actually grew up in a Jewish Christian home, and my parents were Christian Scientists. And I grew up believing that we can heal ourselves, we can change the world, we can change the way people are through changing our minds, changing, instead of having and holding on to negativity, hold on to divine love, hold on to that, you're in a state of love and joy. And I grew up that way, and people said, why do you come off this way? You seem like you're in another dimension. And I said, well, I guess I am in another dimension.
That's true. Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, let's start with Elaine, because nobody knows Elaine yet, and we're excited to introduce Elaine.
Absolutely.
So, Elaine, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh dear, when shall I start?
Well, I did brag about
I'm an artist.
Yes, exactly.
I'm an artist, and people say, when did you start your art career? I actually did not start it until I was 5 years old, because I lived in a summer cottage in Holbrook, and I didn't have any crayons or any paints. But when I went to Sable Schools, they gave me a box of crayons, and I started my art career then. I became a professional artist when I was 15 years old. And then I went on to college in Farmingdale State University, studied graphic arts. But I had worked after I got out of college for a couple of years, and I married, and I had 2 children. And when I was 26 years old, my husband dropped dead of a heart attack, and I had an 18-month-old and a 3-year-old. So I had to work to support the children. And a year later, I started my own graphic business in the house. After working for someone, I worked for a place in Patchogue, and I asked the guy for a dime raise. I just wanted a raise, and he wouldn't give me a raise. I said, well, today's my last day. So I went home and I said, what the hell did you do? You don't have a job. But I was doing all the artwork for Smith Haven Mall promotional artwork for the Merchants Association, and also for all the candidates in Suffolk County Republicans all over Suffolk County. So the next day, both those clients called me at home, and they said, we went to we went to find you, and you weren't there. So I said, no, I started my own business. They said, well, okay, well, we'll give you $10 an hour. I was making $3 an hour at the agency. So we'll give you $10 an hour. So, I mean, I worked on campaigns for Richard Nixon, Rockefeller, all the big shots. And so I kept that business in my home for 19 years, and working because I wanted to be with the children. And if I had a lot of work, I'd work around the clock, but I also hired a babysitter in the house. So in 1987, I took the civil service test for graphic designer or graphic supervisor, and I came in #1 in Suffolk County. So I was hired by the town of Islip just before the garbage barge was floating around the country, trying to find a place to dump the garbage. So I was primarily hired by Frank Jones to teach the residents. It was the first municipality in the country to separate their garbage. So, but it expanded to a job that was all 10 departments of the town of Islip. So I met all the department heads, and I found out all the secrets that were in the town of Islip. And after 10 years, I was on the steering committee for the union, the Teamsters, and town of Islip did not want the employees to get a pay raise. And so my job was eliminated because I was on that committee with the Teamsters. But I took the town of Islip to federal court, and I sued the pants off of them. So you can fight town hall. But after that, I did not get any government work. I was blackballed all the way up to the governor because I sued the town of Iceland. So somebody said to me, well, the U.S. Open is coming to Bethpage. Did you want to submit a poster to the United States Golf Association? So I did. And so then I did 7 U.S. Opens and PGA Championship paintings. So I have a history of golf art. And I have, the 2009 U.S. Open poster, I sold 5,000 posters at the U.S. Open. And it was sold out. It's the best-selling poster of all time. 3 times Leroy Neiman was submitting a design, but the USGA chose me over Leroy Neiman 3 times. So I have a history of golf art. I have a lot of collectors, but I expanded my art business to Long Island scenes and a whole Van Gogh collection, the Fire Island Lighthouse, the Montauk
I love
Lighthouse.
that one. That's the one that I bought from you. That's how we met. I bought the Van Gogh Fire Island Lighthouse, and it's so beautiful. I'll show you guys pictures after. I'll post it on our Instagram page and YouTube.
So the lighthouses are really hot. The people love those 2 lighthouses and the big dock, but then I have a realistic style and a Van Gogh style. And people say, well, what is that thing, that famous artist that did those swirls? You know, when I was doing the first painting in the collection, I did the painting of the Montauk Lighthouse. And my husband walked into my studio and he said, what is that? I said, well, that's a Van Gogh style. He said, who the hell is Van Gogh? I said, well, you know, he was a famous artist. He says, well, that's not going to work. I said, no, it is. It is, because everybody does a painting of the Montauk Lighthouse, but nobody's done a Van Gogh style one. And Newsday did a big story on it. And people held on to that story for a year and kept ordering those prints. And I sold the original painting, but to this day, it is a big seller, the Montauk Lighthouse. One woman said to me, you combine the 2 things that I love most in the world. I said, what is that? The Montauk Lighthouse and Van Gogh. So the whole Van Gogh collection, I did the Statue of Liberty, the Smithtown Bow, all different paintings. And now I'm unveiling a new painting at your show on the 27th, which is a realistic painting of the Fire Island Lighthouse with a brilliant sky and a woody with surfboards on top of it, because I'm really into cars. I love cars. Actually, I'm into Corvettes, but you don't take the Corvette down to the beach and put your surfboards on it. But I actually rode in one of those woodies, but Corvettes are what I really, really love. I don't have a Corvette right now. I sold the last one a couple of years ago. I had it for 24 years. But my first Corvette was a 1954 Corvette, which I used to repair myself because I didn't have the money to give
You're
it to
so
a
awesome.
mechanic.
She's such a trip. She's great.
So I do paint cars too. I have a painting I did of a 63 split window Corvette, which I also had one of those, a 63 split window Corvette. And then I did a painting of 2 NASCAR out at Riverhead, and that sells very well. But I do portraits of dogs, did the painting of the Pope, and then I did a whole presidential collection. So I have 5 presidents that I painted, and the next one I'm going to do is Ronald Reagan, and then probably Grant, because he was my cousin, you know. Actually, I sat next to Ulysses S. Grant III when I was about 20 years old at the Lambs Club. My father was the son of the American Revolution, and we were sitting on this table, and Grant was moving around the table to get to sit next to me, and he finally sat next to me. He says, I never knew I had a cousin that was as attractive as you. And then he said, oh, you know, my grandfather wasn't that much of a drunk. They just blew everything out of proportion. But I have letters from him to my father and Christmas cards from Grant. So I'm a Grant. I was a Grant. But the Grants married the Ryders. My maiden name was Ryder. But the presidential collection is, I did some Republicans, some Democrats. The first one was Theodore Roosevelt on his horse.
I love that Theodore.
Yeah,
I love that man.
Yeah, and that one, and then I did George Washington. But my daughter said there's a prayer room in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Most people don't know about it, but there's a stained glass window there with George Washington praying in the stained glass window.
Oh, wow.
So I tried to get pictures of it. I contacted Peter King's office to try to get pictures because the public is not allowed in there. Legislators go in there to pray for whatever they want done. There's only 8 seats in there, a Bible, and this amazing stained glass window of George Washington praying for his troops in Valley Forge. So I said, the Peter King's office didn't get back to me. So I said, I can't wait. I have to get the pictures. So I went online. I searched out the chaplain in the Congress, United States Congress, and his office was right in that building. And I emailed him and I called on the phone. His phone number was right on there. And somebody called me back within 5 minutes. Said, we have a messenger here sending you pictures because we know who you are and we want you to do the painting of the prayer room. So I did the painting of the prayer room, but then the prayer room was shut down because of some incident that was in the Capitol building, whatever it was, I don't know. So that sells very well. George Washington is praying for his troops, but I worked on that painting over a year because it's all lettering and lines, and it was very, very detailed painting. So then I did John F. Kennedy because my kids are related to him and on his sailboat. And then I did a controversial painting, but it's croppable. So I did a painting of Abraham Lincoln with Donald Trump, but there's actually 5 models in that painting. The hands on the Lincoln is sitting in the chair, the statue of Lincoln. He's sitting in the chair. And the hands, my son posed for the hands. And then the hand of Donald Trump, I didn't have a hand of Donald Trump. So my grandson, Army Ranger and Marine, posed for the hand of Trump. And then the body model for Trump was Suffolk County Republican leader Jesse Garcia. He had the same, but I made him a little thinner. So he had the body, and then Trump's head. So if people don't like the Trump painting, I can just crop it and do Lincoln. So, but somebody said to me, why did you associate Lincoln with Trump? And I said, because they went through similar problems and problems with people that surrounded them and problems in the government and all. And actually, they both been shot at. And 4 of the presidents that I painted have been shot at. Roosevelt and Trump. And well, Roosevelt was he was giving a speech and he had his eyeglasses in his pocket and a bullet hit the eyeglasses. But he went on to speak for 90 minutes after that, Roosevelt.
Wow.
So, and John F. Kennedy, of course, he was another one that was shot at. The only one that wasn't shot was George Washington. So the next one I'm going to do.
He brought us through the revolution. He was shot at.
Oh yeah. But he was the most amazing person in the world.
Agreed.
He didn't want to be president. I read this book about Valley Forge. I cried through that book. That was a horrendous time in Valley Forge. He didn't have food or shoes or blankets for his troops. He was begging for food. And it was a horrendous winter of 1777 in Valley Forge. So that's a little bit about what I do. And I'm doing a whole new collection right now of Irish art because I went to Ireland last year and I took over 500 photos. And I'm going to do that collection next. And of course, Ronald Reagan, probably on his horse. So what else would you like to know?
I was just going to say something about Trump. Not only have I dined with him, but I was invited down to Mar-a-Lago for a week. So that was quite a trip.
When I was at the PGA Championship, Trump's people came to me and invited me to paint Bedminster in New Jersey, the golf course.
Yes, well, yeah, his country club.
Yeah, so I went there and I painted that golf course, and I sell those prints there at his. And I was supposed to meet with him, but the painting wasn't done yet. And then after.
Interesting. Oh. Yeah, so that's
turn it off.
He actually, when I dined with him with about 25 people, his favorite topic during dinner was, you wouldn't get, I don't think anybody will guess.
Sorry about that.
What's that?
Oh, I said sorry.
He wanted the Trump burger they have at the clubhouse. When we went to lunch, I said, after I toured the golf course for 2 hours, I said, is there any place to go for lunch? Because there's no stores around here. There's no restaurants around here. The guy said, well, follow me. So he took me up to the terrace, and the menu came out, and it was the Trump burger. My husband said, my husband's Red Thompson. I have to have the Trump burger. I got to have that. So he really liked that. And then when I went to pay the bill, they said, no, there's no bill for you. We're honored to have you here. So I felt really good about that.
Right?
Yeah. So what were you saying? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What was he saying about the dinner?
No, at dinner, I remember him sitting at the table down the road from us, the main seat, and he spoke about himself and how terrific he was, and he went around asking everybody to give a little background about who they were, and they were only, out of everybody, he had all of his business professional people there. It was actually a table filled with billionaires, and I wasn't in that genre, so I didn't really say too much. I just listened.
How did you get to go there?
My family actually was working with Trump. My family's in real estate, and my uncle and my cousins had business dealings. So did I at the time. And we were invited down to Mar-a-Lago and also to spend time on his yacht.
Oh, wow. Incredible. I'm going to intersect right there because Miss Angela Ford is also here with us. And her career and background is also incredible. Elaine, I'm so glad that we got to interview you. I had 5 questions and you answered them all in the one answer that you gave, and more than we could have even imagined. Okay. So thank you so much, Elaine, for giving us your story. And she will be at our Art in the Park event on July 27th, 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. with numerous prints that she had mentioned here tonight. So thank you so much for that. Miss Angela.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. You're more than welcome to stay and hang out with us and continue the show, or, whatever you'd like to do, wherever your comfort level is. And if you have some pictures to show us by the end, I'd like that as well.
Well, I can walk around. I have a gallery here.
Okay.
When you're done, I could walk around if I can figure out how to do this.
All right, that's awesome.
My grandson showed me how to do it after you're done.
Okay, great.
I wanted to say that Angela, since I've known her, has an incredible background working for the federal government and the cases that she's worked on. I've known Angela for years, and she's got an amazing, incredible background, including being a remote viewer.
Exactly.
My background is I worked for the intelligence community in Washington, D.C. for over 32 years. I worked for the FBI. I worked for Army intelligence, and I ended up working for the Defense Intelligence Agency and the CIA in a psychic program called Stargate. So from 1986 to 1995, 9 years, I was part of the Stargate program, the psychic Stargate program.
So cool. Every time I hear it, I love picking your brain, Angela, and there's so much to pick. So with a resume like that. So the last time you and I got to be on a show together was with Grizzly, and I asked you, a couple questions about the Stargate program. How can you get in contact with it? How did you get into that program? And how were you able to utilize that remote viewer gift that you have in these different lines of work that you had?
Well, back in the 1950s, the 1960s, the CIA was, the CIA looks into everything, and they were looking at psychics to see what they could do, but they were doing mind manipulation. So they were giving people LSD. I think one man jumped out of a window, another woman committed suicide. So Congress came in and said, stop and desist, because you can't, it's against the law to manipulate somebody's mind. And the CIA was doing a lot of funky stuff back in, the early years. So what happened was, there was a man by the name of Dr. Jack Verona who was getting his doctorate's degree in chemistry down at Duke University in North Carolina. And he was dating this woman at the time who eventually became his wife. And her mother, his future mother-in-law, worked in a psychic lab with a husband and wife team called Rhine and Rhine. And they would do like the card, bring people in and test them to see if they had ESP abilities. And a lot of it was just cards, what color is the card? They had like pictures on the card, what card am I holding? Is it the square? Is it the star? So Dr. Verona became very interested in this, and whenever he received his doctorate's degree, he started working for the CIA. Well, whenever he was working for the CIA, now this would have been in the early 1970s, 1972, he found out that Stanford Research Institute was doing a lot of testing, a lot of research on ESP, and scientists always, they don't want to call it an ESP. They have to put their own bent on it.
Right.
So these scientists were studying Chinese children. Chinese children had precognitive abilities. So when they were interpreting the Chinese to the English, the Chinese children kept saying, I remotely view, or I view remotely. And that's how they got the term remote viewing. Mm. So Dr. Verona sent out a small little, a small amount of money. And he told, he said, okay, I want you to look at this, this, and this. And so it was just a small amount of money. Then there was a man down in, he worked for the Foreign Technology Division in Ohio, and this guy's name was Dale Graff. And Dale Graff was just psychic as all get up and go. And he was a scientist, and he started to read, you get these intelligence reports, and he started reading that the Soviets were really into this they were into it, like psychokinesis, and so and of course these intelligence reports go all around the intelligence community in the databases. So Dr. Verona would call Dale Graff and say, "Oh my goodness, can you look more into this?" So they'd send, and so there was an interest between these two men, and I think Dale received an award where he worked. And because he was a scientist, they were going to give him a sabbatical for a year. So he wanted to go to Princeton. He wanted to go to Stanford Research. He wanted to go to Rhine. He was going to do ESP research for a year. And when his bosses found out, they took the award away from him because they didn't like the subject matter. So Dr. Verona said, "Well, that's a bunch of crap." He says, "Just quit there and come up to DC and work for me." So he moved from Ohio to DC. So that was the scientific part of it. Now, Stanford was using psychics, but they were not government psychics. They were employing their own psychics. They were testing people that had nothing to do with the government. And they were getting good psychics because they were going up to San Francisco and testing all the leftover hippies from the 1960s. And I mean, they were pulling in people that way, and they were getting pretty good people. So I think in 1976, we were putting pressure. I think we were putting pressure. We wanted an operational unit. And I think there was a downed airplane in 1976, and Congress approved. They said, "Okay, you can get a little." I think they identified people within the Army. I think they identified the Army. There was a kid by the name of Skip Atwater. He was a young captain, and he was some type of gopher for some guy that sat over at the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And this kid was just a gopher, so he kept telling this Joint Chief of Staff guy, he kept saying, "You should have a psychic unit of psychics that could collect information for you." So at some point, the guy goes, "Okay, let's do it." So now we had. So they started to identify people who they thought were psychic in the military, in the Army, and you can do it through a battery of tests. And so I think they ran an operation, and there was a downed airplane in Zaire, and the remote viewers were able to find it. So that really put pressure on Congress, and we said we want an operational unit. Well, when Congress came through and approved it, they said there'll be no mind manipulation. There'll be we would not be hypnotized. We would not be taking anything internally to change us. And we had human use. The Department of Defense had human use rules, like what could be done to us and what could not be done to us. So it was very well established that they weren't going to mess with us. In fact, when I worked there, there were two buildings. One was the building where we would have our computers and work. And then we had another building, which was the remote viewing building. And one of the remote viewers brought in one of those it's a tank that you sit in with your head sticking out.
Oh, the deprivation tank?
Yeah, and he was asked to remove it because they felt it was. And so it was a safe. So what they did was, the contract, so it only allowed for remote viewing. So it took away anything like we couldn't do psychokinesis. It was strictly remote viewing. So
did you like that there were so many rules on it, or did would you like a little bit more room to try things out, or did you like how we
were doing it anyway. They didn't. We were doing it anyway. They just didn't know. We just didn't report it. They were afraid that if you went into a room, like if I went into a room and somebody wanted me to work, they would put me down in sort of like a little trance. But if we reported it to Congress, all we'd say is, "Oh, I put myself in a self-hypnotic trance." But we weren't doing anything. I mean, look, we weren't ingesting drugs, but they did. They did. I mean, if you went in and they wanted you to work and you said, "I don't feel like working," they couldn't do anything to you. Right. It was that. But but Congress had to be careful too, because they took a hit. I mean, it was a big hit that they took back in the 60s. You know, people are going to get upset. The U.S. citizens are going to get upset. So now
Why?
what happened? Well, because you don't want the government killing people. I mean, think about it. You don't want the government killing people. So it's human use. It's human. You can't use a person like a guinea pig.
Right, right.
You know, you can't do that. It's not humane. You can't use a psychic as a guinea pig. It's not humane.
Well, when you were saying the American people were getting upset, I wanted to clarify, like, were they getting upset because psychics were around and that wasn't too widespread at that time, or?
No, I mean, no, the CIA shouldn't be killing. I mean, no, they were doing things to people that were not nice.
Understood. Okay.
I mean, you had to stop and desist. I mean, you had to stop that. Now, as far as being psychic, you had people. I mean, we needed congressional approval. You had people that didn't mind it. You had some people that didn't want it. You had some people that were neutral. But I think Stanford sort of put together when they would go and ask for money, they wouldn't say psychics, and they didn't get into the new age stuff. They called us remote viewers. There was a manual that was put together that kind of explained it scientifically. So it sort of made it easier for people to accept this, because if somebody doesn't believe in a psychic or this field, if it's against their belief system, you're not going to change it. You're not going to change them. So you got to kind of ease it in. You know, you got to ease it in there to at least get the money from these people. You know, once we had the money and we knew we were on solid ground, we didn't care who. We could do our work, but we were solidified. Now, every couple of years when we needed the money, we were sweating because you had to go back to Congress and ask for money. But no, it was good that it was protected. It was good I mean, you hear crazy stuff about the government. I mean, what do you hear nowadays? That people are, kidnapping children, or people in Congress, or people are what? There's a slave trade with children. You hear crazy things. Yeah. And believe me, things were crazy in the government, and they can get crazy, and I was there because I saw it. But certain conspiracy things just aren't true. So anyway,
go ahead.
Okay, so in that 1976, you had a remote viewing, you had a Stargate, you had a psychic program, you had the research and development, you were looking at foreign countries and seeing what they were doing, which was mostly the Soviet Union, and then you had the psychics. I was working for the FBI about 1979, 1980. Now I left, and I was working with a woman who left because her husband got her a job with Army Intelligence as a secretary. Now, the FBI didn't really pay that well, so she called me up and she said, hey, Army Intelligence is looking for people with a political science background. If they'll start you higher, why don't you apply, because you'll be making more money than what you're making now, and you get a raise for the next 3 years. So I applied. It was during that time, and I think I was an intern for 3 years, and I ended up and I went to Congress and worked. I learned all about the intelligence community, how you collect, how you disseminate, how you report, and you write reports for the policymakers. So around 1984, I had heard about the psychic program, but at that time it was a special access program. So I could work in the intelligence community. I was wearing a badge. I had clearances, but that was a special access program that I wasn't read on to. So I didn't even know that existed. And that's what happens in the government. There's so many levels of,
like who has access to what?
Who has that? Yeah. It's just the different levels. So there was a general, I guess I guess he was looking for people to, I guess, I don't know what happened with Army. He had people that retired, but they needed more remote viewers. And I had heard that they needed more remote viewers, but so I approached him, or they said they were looking for people. So I was doing automatic writing. I've had out of body experiences. I was going to an institute where I was learning metaphysics. So I was doing all of this. And when I heard this program existed, it like kind of blew my mind, and I wanted to be involved. So I met with the general, and he said, this was 1984, and he said, well, I'm retiring. And I said, oh, that's too bad. And and the reason he retired, because the guy that was sitting over at the Joint Chief of Staff, this little guy kept telling this one big general, well, you should use psychics or whatever. He retired, or he got transferred. So the Army lost the support of the remote viewers, of the psychic part. So the general who I met with said he was retiring because he wasn't getting the support that he needed for the remote viewers. So he was going to go out on his own and start his own company. So this was 1984, and I thought, well, I missed my chance to be part of the program. And from what I understood, I understand this now, but you had the remote viewers, the Army people, sitting around. The unit was at Fort Meade. The remote viewers were at Fort Meade, and they were sitting around in 1984 waiting for orders to go to their next job. Well, Dr. Jack Verona at DIA, the big guy, the guy that was putting money into the research, he went to Congress and said, don't do away with the psychics, just transfer them to me, which took about a year to do. And then in 1986, I got a call from the office to go up and work. And wow. So I was in it from that's how I got there.
Did you know that you were a psychic before or after?
Oh, sure. No, before.
How did you know you were a psychic?
Because I had out of body experiences. I was doing channeling through guides. I was giving readings. So I knew I was psychic. I knew it.
Yeah, Angela, I had a question for you. We both have been to the Soviet Union. What were your feelings? How did you feel when you were there?
Well, what happened was in 1991, the Cold War, the Cold War ended.
Yes.
And there was a man that was working at Stanford Research Institute that came to our agency and said, you're going to pay me to go to the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, because he said it's very open right now. And he said, I want to get in there and I want to see what they're doing, the scientists, what they're doing. So he went over and he made a couple of trips over, and he eventually met the general who was the head of their psychics. And so at the end, people wrote books. We spied on you, you spied on us. So books were written, and we got invited to go over in 2015 to a reception where they were honoring the Russian psychics, the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union psychics, and the American psychics. So when we went over, we met people that were doing this during the 1980s. They didn't like Putin.
Right.
I met a guy, I think he was in charge of the KGB, and they were making... He was like in charge of the KGB, and he was making psychic weapons. So anyway, I went over with my friend, with the scientist Ed May, and he took a picture of me in front of the KGB building.
I think I saw it. I had a run-in with the KGB. Yeah, but go ahead.
Did you? Yeah. What did they do? Did they kind of tape you, or?
They were listening into my phone, my conversations in my hotel room, and I had been there with friends, and we were kind of acting like we were foolish. We were in high school, but I was telling them that I had psychic ability and I was picking up. And before I knew it, when I left my room to go downstairs, the KGB stopped me from going out of the hotel.
Wow.
And they said, we would like to talk to you, sir. And they brought me into a private room and they said, are you a subversive? Why are you in the Soviet Union? And I told them I was there because I was there writing a thesis. And I said, I find it fascinating. And I was fascinated with the Leningrad, Kalinin. And they monitored me for a couple of days and then they let me.
Well, no, we were pretty safe because we were invited by an official Soviet newspaper.
Yes.
We had the invitation and they said you were invited to this reception. And we went over on they invited us in November.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted us there November the 8th for the reception for the 15th. So they had to give us a humanitarian visa.
Yes.
So, and the kid, and then also there was a guy, Victor, who he was involved with the Soviet program, but he was living in the United States and working for the scientist Ed May. So Victor coordinated everything. So when we went over, we were with Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Victor was very, and then the people that we met, these were former high-level official government people under Brezhnev and under Gorbachev. So I felt safe that way.
Yeah.
But they were crazy. I mean, they really do drink vodka all the time. And the guy that was the head of the KGB, I mean, that guy just was, it was different. But I'll tell you what I did like, that we did go in. We were invited to the University of Moscow, and there was a man who was a regular doctor, but he was also a psychiatrist. And during the 1980s, he was a general in the Soviet military, and he was the one that taught people PK, the movement of objects or psychokinesis. And he invited us to his class, and he actually took us back in the labs and showed us how they train. There were labs where they trained people on how to do the psychokinesis, and I thought that was interesting. But I thought Moscow was around the Christmas, it was around winter, and I just felt like fairies were just going to come out of the woods at the University of Moscow. And then we met a guy. He was a healer, but actually he traveled. When we met him in 2015, he was a healer, and people were coming into his office all the time, and he would do healing sessions, and he must have lived strategically, because every morning we would leave the hotel and go to his place, and everybody would be there and eating and drinking and everything. And he actually traveled with Gorbachev and Yeltsin. He would protect them. Like he would be like, he had to make sure their health was okay and that there was nothing around them to give them harm. But they were fascinating people. It was a trip of a lifetime. And in many ways, they were ahead of us because we could only do remote viewing. But we laughed. We go, hey, yeah, do you remember? Hey, you remember that first submarine, that first what do you call submarine? But it was remember that first nuclear submarine you built? Well, we accessed that and we drew that and we knew you were doing that. So we were just stuff like that.
Back and forth.
But we made friends with them. We're trying to get a documentary together now. We have a producer. We just got invited to. We're going to be put in. Well, we got letters from the government, and they asked us if we wanted to be part of the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C.
Amazing. Well, you've had quite
so I feel like I've gone full circle. I feel like I've really gone full circle.
Yeah. All of you, we didn't do an interview for Peter tonight, but Peter is just right out there, and every one of you has had this amazing level career by being true to yourselves and being guided by your own heart and things that you needed to do or what your value was. And it's just amazing to sit and listen to like the things that you've accomplished in your time. And then there's still so much more ahead to still do, which is even greater.
Yeah, I think if we can get a documentary, I think the guy I'm working with, Dr. May, I think he wanted to go back he really wanted to go back to the Soviet Union to film it, but we can't because of Putin. But I'll tell you, when we went there, it was in 2015, and they didn't like Putin. They did not feel Putin was the head of the KGB, and they felt like an intelligence officer should not be running the country.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't know too much about Russia or anything like that to speak on it, but it does.
It was beautiful, beautiful churches, and we always heard they were communists, but Stalin went to church every day at Red Square.
Was it St. Basil's Cathedral? I think so. Yeah, that's right in Moscow. Yeah.
Now I'll tell you one thing that they did do is if you're in the airport and you have to show, I have to show my passport and visa, those people looked it over very closely. Yes. And when you entered the museums, they looked everything. I know for whenever in the United States, how we go through airports and government buildings, they don't look. In the United States, they don't look, but over there, I mean, you'll be waiting 5 minutes because they're still looking at, they're looking at that, they're looking at you.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I was answering back. We have some people who are here. So with our last bit of time, there's a handful of people here that would like to do some readings with us. We have Andrea, we have Julie, we have Denise. Still getting feedback from our audience. So Peter, if you could start us off with Andrea.
All right, just a moment, if you would. I'm still recovering from today, so if I'm not in rare form, excuse me.
Will there be time to show my artwork?
There will be. Okay. Peter, are you getting up on your computer right now?
I am, trying to. I just need a date of birth, and then I'll call my guides in.
Okay, so 2/8/1960.
2/8 of 1960.
And this is Andrea.
All right, 2/8 of 1960, and this is Andrea. All right, let me set this up and let me see if my guides are willing to come in.
Have you ever worked with any psychics, Elaine?
No, I haven't. No.
All new. Well, these they're amazing.
Where do you live, Elaine? Elaine?
I'm the artist from Bohemia. Long Island.
New York.
All right, this year for Andrea, there's going to be a lot of changes. They're saying to me about new direction. Now, I want to tell you, my guides are telling me this is a very old soul, very, very old soul that came into this life. They've had, I think, a lot of issues to work out. They keep on showing me the mother or father. So I feel that there were some issues around the father or the mother and being accepted. I also want to say this person has writing ability. They're showing me something around writing ability, and they're very, very progressive. The soul is not from this world. And I want to say that in a positive way. I don't know if you know this person. Do you know this person, Teresa?
I do know this person.
All right. The soul is from another dimension, very creative. I want to say they get bored easily. They always have to be doing something. And they're great with speaking. They're great with organizing. And I want to tell this person has healing ability, but I really think this person right now is coming into their own.
I would agree. I just did a reading for her last night, and every word you said was a word that I said and then some, because I had more time than you. But it's fantastic. She's making this very big transition right now. I'm very happy for her.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Angela, anything on Andrea?
I feel like she was born into this life to be very successful. I feel like she's a manifester. She and I feel she's very balanced, and I feel she's a hard worker. I do feel like there are changes and new beginnings coming, but like I feel like more this winter, this past winter, it was more endings. It was like she may have more endings, maybe some losses, but she is getting into like the new beginnings more and more as the months get closer to her birthday, because your new year starts on your birthday. But you are right about a lot of changes, new beginnings. The past couple of months, or the past couple of months, things may be feeling stale. She may not know what she wants, but she knows what she doesn't want. But it's things become clearer, things open up, new beginnings, new energy, new renewal, rebirth is what I'm picking up.
Her life is opening up in a very pleasant new direction, and that old stuff is behind her as she enters into a whole lot of new, and she's embraced herself. And I liked what you said, good word was balance, where there was a steadiness in, I accept myself so I can be myself, but I'm also doing these things outside, and the outside things are now peeling away, so she's a more concentrated version of herself.
Good.
So, yeah. All right, so up next, and we only have a few more minutes because Peter's got to run into another show, and he's got some other things lined up, so we don't have that much more time, but we'll do the best that we can. All right, we have Julie, Denise, Pauline, Nilda, and. Oh, perfect. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the 18th, February 18th, Peter.
What is February the 18th?
Her birthday was February 18th, 1967.
1967.
I got that all sorts of wrong. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. The guides would give me the correct information, even if
I know that your message was correct because you were guided. There was no astrology in that. I know.
Yeah, there wasn't, because the guides, I wanted to tell a quick story, if I might.
Sure.
I remember years ago when I sat down and gave Elizabeth Taylor a reading, and I said to her, your life is going to be changing. You're going to be getting married again. She said, absolutely not. I'm done with men. And then she married Larry Fitensky.
Yeah.
All right. And this is Julie, you said?
Yes. On to Julie next.
All right. Now, Julie is going to be going through also a lot of changes right now. They're talking to me. They're telling me Julie needs to be more conscientious about health, drinking water, and her diet. That's what they're pointing to. So those are three areas that have to be worked on. I do see money here, and I want to say there is a strong connection. She is very intuitive, extremely. I hope she's using it. A strong connection with the family. And they just said to me, let go of trying to be so controlling. There's a lot of control here, and she's got to learn how to balance that control, because I'm sensing very caring, very loving, but also there's times where it's hard to let go and let things happen. But all right, do you understand that, Teresa?
Oh, I'm right there with you. I have my own. I was getting it as you were getting it.
All right, yeah, but she's incredible. I am feeling gifted. There's a gift here, and I think it may be around art. There is creativity, but at times she doubts herself, and the guides are saying she was given a gift and to utilize it in this world.
Yeah, I feel headaches and frustration.
Yes.
So like not knowing where to go. Like I know she has her son and her family to an extent, is worked out. And it's like she's trying to see that path ahead. And sometimes she thinks she's very clear on the idea, and sometimes it is not as clear, and she's trying to figure it out, get sorted out, get clear. And then there's like a frustration or like a blah or even a sadness of, I think this is the way, I think this is the way, and then it doesn't seem right, and like, oh, I thought I felt so confident, how come that wasn't? And now looking, so I see like searching for a path, something mixing together with like job, money, purpose, where is she taking her life, the person that she wants to be, making this balance between herself and the people outside of her, and herself and what, like income versus passion versus family, and how to lace all these things together. And I just feel like you need to give yourself less grief, Julie, because you're you want to be so great so much that sometimes all that energy comes in the head and not from the heart. And the heart is that guiding system. And when we're in the head too much and I want to get it done, where is it, where's the answer, we're in the head, and then we can't focus, or it's hard for us to focus, or that leads to the derailment, or that's where like the emotions are going to come in and waver. But yeah, she said right now I'm trying to get my book published, so she is taking care of that art. And the control, Julie, is there's let go and let God. And sometimes we try to lead our own life in a strong way because we want so badly to get from point A to point B. Yeah. But we're trying to do it from a frame of it's only us with our vision trying to lead to where we go, which kind of leads us sometimes to being on point and sometimes not being on point, and then having emotions towards it. And being able, like I said in the earlier part of the show, being able to strike that balance, that sweet spot for ourselves is what helps us to navigate what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Angela?
I'm fine. I think I just got that I feel like she has a lot of air in her. I don't know. What is the birthday 28? What sign is that?
Julie.
She does have air in her, Angela.
A lot of air, but it does make her flexible. I mean, you can say she's controlling, but she's very flexible. She can do many things at one time, and that's a talent.
Agreed. Well, 9/9.
Sorry.
Her birthday is 9/9/1969. Sorry, Peter.
All right. Is this the next one?
No, that was Julie's birthday. I was answering Angela. 9/9/1969.
Okay, can we see the art now?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me figure out how I can just turn this around.
There you are.
Okay. All right. I'm in the kitchen right now. This is a Lady Golfer painting.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Right here.
Yes.
It's Lady Golfer. This is Beth Page, 2002. Golf
Very
course.
nice.
And let's see. This is the golf room. This is the 2009 poster. This is the Women's Open. This is Trump's, there's too much reflected light, Bedminster golf course. This is 2019 PGA Championship. Then, let's see, back to that. This is France to America.
Yeah.
That's the Van Gogh.
Montauk Lighthouse. That was the first painting of that series.
Beautiful work.
This was Shinnecock U.S. Open painting here. I also did a 2004 painting. You can't see that. Well, this is the official poster I did for the Vietnam statue in Washington.
She might be in her face.
I was the graphic designer on that. And let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, here is Elvis. That's Elvis.
Oh, yes, Elvis.
These are Trump prints that I have. and I call it Trump, the Party of Lincoln. Here's the first painting of the Fire Island Light. Whoops. Did I put my... Oh, wait a minute.
Your finger's there.
Yeah, my finger's on the thing. Yeah, okay. This is the first painting I did of the Fire Island Lighthouse.
That's the one that I have. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one you have?
Yeah.
Now that's the... is that Van Gogh?
Yeah, that's the Van Gogh with the lighthouse.
Yeah, in Europe they got mad at me. I said Van Gogh, and in Europe they call it Van Gogh. Over here we call it Van Gogh.
Yeah. This is the big duck painting.
Beautiful.
Here's Teddy Roosevelt on his horse. Is Derek Jeter.
Oh,
This
sure.
is Kennedy on a sailboat. This is the Trump painting with Abraham Lincoln. Here's George Washington praying for his troops, which is stained glass window in the Capitol building. This is a garden in Mount Sinai here. This is Davis Park Casino. And you can't see this too well. It's a little dark. That's Corvette.
Beautiful.
I do the dog portraits. This is a Yorkie and Black Lab. That's Sable. There's another Van Gogh style painting of the sunflowers.
Oh yes.
This was
Recognize
it's a painting I did for Paws of War, but I haven't met with them yet. That's my grandson.
Paws of War is great.
Army Ranger with a puppy. This is from Fiddler on the Roof here. That's my cat, Blackie. And I'll just walk around here.
This is so everybody knows all the different paintings that'll be on the July 27th. She's got to pack the entire room and bring it with her, just so you know the effort that goes into vending.
This is Fire Island Lighthouse, and these also come in black and white too. But there's the Smithtown Bowl, and here's the another dog portrait. Here's
You're very good.
Prince.
Excellent.
Prince on an oval, and
I love the realism in the painting, and one of the things that I loved about Elaine when she was showing me her artwork when I had met her, every little detail, every line is completely perfect. She takes the real picture and she finds every little minute detail about the painting and the art that she's doing. But as I said earlier, I know that we all have places to disperse and other shows to get onto. So unfortunately, Elaine, I have to cut our art tour short, but I appreciate that you showed us everything that you did.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Well, it was wonderful having Elaine and Angela on the program.
I was making a whole bunch of jokes about what happens when an astrologer, a remote viewer, and an artist walk into the room, setting it up for like a bar style joke. But what happens is all this dynamic, rich experience combined in one place. So I'm very grateful for you all to share yourselves the way that you have tonight.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Elaine and I will be on July 27th, we'll be in Lindenhurst at the Babylon Town Hall Park. It's 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. There'll be live music. There's going to be, obviously, Elaine will be there unveiling her new artwork. There'll be other artists, other beautiful craftsperson, Peace and Glow candles, Reiki with love, Soap Yourself Happy. We have these really great vendors who handcraft everything that they make. And it's just going to be a really lovely time in the park between a lake and a playground. So tons of fun for the family. Angela and Peter, thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
It was nice meeting you, Elaine.
What? Nice
Come
meeting
on
you,
back.
Very
everyone.
nice to meet you, Elaine. Yes,
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting all of you.
Yeah.
And
So,
10 p.m. tonight.
I
is-
just wanted to say that I have originals, but I also have prints in any size and any frame. My husband makes all the frames.
That's awesome. I'm so glad about that. So if anyone's interested in connecting with you, Elaine, how do they do that?
They can call me at 516-380-7715.
Okay, 516-380
Yes,
7.
715.
Okay, what is the last 4 digits one more time?
7715.
7715. And Angela, if anybody wants to get a reading with you or connect with you, how do they do that?
My cell phone is 443-624-5874.
Beautiful. And Peter?
They can call the White House to get my number. 203-206-9353, or they can contact me through Peter_MRKS@yahoo.com. Yeah, go ahead.
I said I was also gonna I was gonna say I heard you're also into pigeon training. I could put a note on a pigeon and send it over.
Better yet.
They can also connect with me on my website, thompsonart.us.
thompsonart.us. And if anyone would like a reading with me, 631-759-1965. I'm so glad that you guys were all here to join us tonight. We'll be on again at 10 p.m. with Nancy Barr, Buddha Master, teacher, healer. We're going to get into our first episode of Psychic Zen 333, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.